like I said earlier, PYP wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for him. I constantly say that because he's brought so much to the table with his media and his creativity and his style and how he sees things. And even though like I think we see things kind of similar, but he has another level of imagery and how he likes to present things. And
mine is weird.
It's a good weird, and like I appreciate and value his vision, and I like how it meshes well with
a fresh perspective.
Very fresh, well played.
There you go.
Very fresh perspective on things, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see that you can take, like I can see visions in my head and have him. I can tell him something and he can portray it through media.
Do you guys easily compromise on ideas and that sort of thing, or do you find you butt heads quite often?
I think
we butt heads.
Yeah, we butt heads.
It's inevitable.
Overall, I think we generally mesh. I think whenever he comes with an idea, I can
complement it with your own.
I can complement it or add to it or freshen it up.
And then one of the things I like working with him is because if I come up with an idea, because like him, I like to be creative. If I come up with an idea, he'll tell me straight out flat, no. If he just doesn't see it working, he'll just say no. And I like that. And you need that. You need that from a business partner. You need that in anything.
Exactly.
Like you want somebody to be honest and truthful with you, and be like. He won't just say no. He'll just like, well, no, because people won't accept it this way. They'll look at it this way, and then and I'll think about it and be like, yeah, you're kind of right, And I think that's why we work so well together, and that's why I believe at the end of the day, like this mission will go very well because we at the end of the day can work together.
Yeah, we're honest with each other. He's very passionate about what he does, and I like to bring that same passion to the table. So like I said, we're honest with each other. We're communicable. We stay in contact. We're organized. So I think that there are clashes every now and then. There's an idea that one person doesn't agree with, and but
sure.
At the end of the day, we always resolve it. We don't let it escalate into conflict.
Right.
Things are always moving forward with us. Sometimes they stay on a pause, but they're always moving forward. They're never going backwards. So the business relationship between the partners has never been a bad one. In terms of PYP, I would the harshest I've heard is somebody accusing David or the PYP brand as just a way to profit off the message of safe sex.
Yeah, that was quite an interesting conversation.
That was. It didn't hurt because I don't really take a lot of things that people say personally, but it was in my view it was a very ignorant but understandable view of how people could have viewed what we were doing. Because they basically looked at it as, hey, you guys
just
have this message,
comment.
You're attaching the clothing to it and making people think that, oh, yeah, that's a good message, I'm gonna buy the clothing, without even caring whether they're
not bothering to research the company.
Yeah,
he doesn't know how deeply rooted it is.
Exactly. Whether we care that they whether they practice safe sex or not, we just want them to buy our clothes because we have a message behind it. And I think that was completely false in every way because I hang out with this guy not every single day, but a lot, and I know how passionate he is about the message. So for somebody to just come out and accuse that, I think that was been the harshest, not just critic, but thing that anybody has said towards the PYP business. Good.
How are you gonna promote safe sex through clothing? Like, what are you doing? It's stupid, and. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, which is fine.
Yeah.
And just kind of pushes me more and be like, okay, well, not to say that I'm going to prove you wrong, but I'm an individual to be like, well, you can't do it that way. Why can't I do it that way?
We're very much a society that follows like a map. You know what I mean? Like it's like we're given the map and it's like, here, stay on the paved roads and do this. And if people can't, envision the same thing you can, it's likely difficult for them to wrap their minds around where you're coming from or where you want to go.
Possible?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for me. Like how, and I'm just like, well, I kind of see it.
Yeah.
You see it. I think other people see it, and it's just a different way of relaying a message that needs to be out there.
Yeah.
And I think, especially in this day and age, with like so much imagery and like how we communicate is totally different. I think clothing is one of the best
Very
ways.
good way to do it.
Well, it's an extension for a lot of people, right? Like it's your style. It's how you
It's
it's how
how
you
you
greet the
are.
world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you leave your house wearing a certain
You're judged
clothes.
on what
yeah,
you're
you're
what
judged
you're
on what
wearing.
you're wearing. So
Yeah.
you're projecting a certain image of you without even talking to you. You know, you've already kind of shown me who you are. I could be wrong. I could be right, but
Most
that's
people
my
don't
first-
walk out of the house wearing clothes they don't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're
Exactly.
gonna wear clothes that reflect you as a person. You know what I mean? If you're into fashion and style, you're probably gonna wear a lot of name brands. If you don't really care about that type of stuff, you're more of a techie person. You're probably just gonna wear a shirt and pants. You know, the no name. You know, so the clothing is showing who you are. So in a way, so with PYP clothing, if you're showing to the world that, hey, I'm aware of safe sex, and you know, and I represent safe sex. It's a lifestyle, like I said earlier. So, for somebody to come and say, how's that possible? I don't think they really thought about it too hard. You know, or not even hard at all, but just thought about it in depth.
Do you guys feel like you've sort of had to build up a little bit of armor on the outside to sort of just, you know, as much as I think it's important to stay open, especially creatively, that sort of thing, to, you know, people's opinions and feedback that you get, it's also probably quite important to ensure that, you know, when you get those kinds of comments come your way, which they inevitably will, especially the more successful that you are, that you know, you can take the value, there's value in everything, but you're able to take the value, extract the value from it, and perhaps not let it personally affect you, and sort of like, you know, knock you off track.
Of course.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Grow a little bit of a thick skin.
Thick skin. I mean, like everybody wants to point out what you should be doing when you're trying to create something. Like,
Everyone has an
you
opinion.
need to do it this way, and you need to do it that way. And you know, 9 times out of 10, I mean, like, man, if you have it written down, like, why aren't you doing this?
And who's to say there is any set way to do, like everyone takes
I
their
don't
own
think
path
there
to
is.
success, right?
There isn't. There isn't.
And probably the only way to get there is to carve your own path out, whatever that might be for you guys.
We definitely have to carry that along, just because of the fact that not only is the message something that's taboo, but you know there are a lot of the paranoia that's implanted in people's heads of you know, companies profiting off of somebody else's or pain or whatever it is. That thought of that's implanted in people's head. People are already second guess a lot. So we as long as we stick to the message, which is safe sex, I don't think that anything that anybody's going to say to us is really going to affect us or make us think that, you know, this is the wrong company that we are endorsing right now.
Yeah.
Because we know that our ultimate goal is to improve the world, or at least the area that we're living in terms of people practicing safe sex. And whether that's through clothing or through media or whatever, we know that that's what our ultimate goal is. So if somebody says that, you know, we don't know what we're doing, you know what I mean? Well, they could be right, you know, but
Whoever knew what they were doing,
yeah,
though. Like
exactly.
the first person ever knew what they were doing.
Exactly. Who knows what they're diving
You
into?
stumble along the way, but you
you
get
have
there.
faith. You know, you try it out. You know, you make mistakes. You learn from them. You have successes. You try to grow them. But as long as you're sticking to, you know, as long as you have an ultimate goal and you're striving for it, there's no right way to do anything. There's no carved way to do anything.
The first ultimate goal was to get the logo established and the name, like, from the scratch. Like, originally it was started off as just like a clothing brand, just a regular clothing brand, which was going to use just my name and kind of be like, you know, who am I? I'm, you know, this creative guy, and you know, my name is going to be something. But then it was just like, well, you know, it's kind of lame. You know,
No offense to all the other people.
No offense to all the Davids in the world.
Sorry, Tom Ford.
Okay, great. So, hey, who are you? What, you know, like, who am I?
Jeez, stop porn.
And then just like just through life and like how I was taught about sex, and my mom never sat me down, and like learning stuff from classmates and internet, and probably some of the wrong stuff, trial error, and error. I was just like, man, this is something that people need to be talking about. We need to be able to sit down and like communicate, fully as adults about safe sex or sex.
Because it could be argued that youth and are getting their sex education via porn and that sort of stuff these days,
which is horrible.
Which seems to be the main sentiment floating around the.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depicts women
so
as,
accessible,
as objects, and there's no real value or love or any appreciation or respect.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for you guys making your message. I think the reason that people feel that way is because porn is it's very available now.
It's very available.
And so and when people are unwilling to have that conversation in person, kids are going to go find the answers themselves. So for you guys to actually put that message that needs to be had in a conversation on the same medium as what porn's on, then it's almost like you're setting up that potential there for kids to sort of be like, instead of going down route B and just going and watching like a pornographic video to try and, not that they would watch it necessarily for sexual education, but to watch it, they might be like, your stuff is out there as well and just as easily accessible.
Exactly.
And might be easy for parents and guardians and whoever might be in a position to to give sexual education. It can easly direct kids in your direction.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying there, for me, I think that right now we're in a very, very tough period in terms of trying to get this message across, because I think that we're in a generation that is kind of in a transitional period, meaning that
huge transitional period.
It's the younger generation is easily accessible. I mean, has easy access to a lot of sexual content out there through the internet.
Yeah.
However, I believe that the parents in this generation are still kind of numb to it. There's
in denial.
Not every single parent knows how to use the internet or these mobile devices to the T, like how the younger generation does. So for me to go up to a parent and be like, yeah, your child could watch 20 porn videos before he or she goes to bed without you even knowing about it, and he or she doesn't even have to click on I agree that I'm 18 before entering this website anymore. You know what I mean? And a lot of parents would be shocked by that. A lot of parents would be like, no, not my son, not my daughter.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're not there yet to the point that the parents are just like, okay, we're fully aware, so we either need to sit our kids down or we need to send our kids to somebody to actually educate them about sexual behavior.
Yeah.
But we're in that tough time, so for us to talk about safe sex, it still is considered taboo. But at the same time, these kids are easily, they're watching all these videos, and 80% of them this is protected sex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just recently, a lot of these pornographic companies are enforcing the use of condoms and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of them are. They don't show safe sex. So if you're young, you're 14, you're 15 years old, you're watching these videos, you're gonna think that this is how it should be done.
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, like I've watched porn, and I can say, I watch porn on occasion. But it's not just porn and how sex is portrayed. I mean, they don't talk about safe sex in novels, in romance novels, where they talk, women and guys having sex. I mean, that information should be in there as well.
Yeah.
And not just on, pornographic, or even in movies.
Just regular movies.
Regular movies. Flicks. Yeah, they're all in the movies, or they're not in the movies, rather. And it should be. And like, people are just like, oh, porn is bad. In a sense, yes, it is bad, but it's not just porn. It's like Hollywood movies, books, magazines, commercials. I mean, all this sexual imagery, but none of it talks about safe sex. Like, can you imagine if, Denzel Washington was in a movie and he's in a sex scene, like the movie Flight.
Yeah, Flight.
You know what I mean? If he had like Trojan or Lifestyle on the table, that would speak volumes. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
you don't even need to see the act so much, and maybe just like
just
product placement
an
kind of thing.
unwrapped condom there.
Yeah.
Exactly, like that would be amazing.
The
like,
insinuation of it.
Yeah.
The insinuation, oh man, this guy, you know, had sex last night with somebody, but he had safe
He
sex.
might be doing cocaine, but he's having safe sex.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
He'd be doing cocaine and flying planes, but you know what?
But yeah, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it'd be so easy. And I think like if people latched onto that, like if rappers, you know, talked about, you know, condoms more, you know, they talk about girls and they classify them as hoes and bitches and chicken heads.
Property.
And, property, you know, but like if there was a little bit more emphasis on, you know, like, you know, safe sex, I think people are like our generation and even younger generations would be like, you know, buy into that message and, you know, practice more.
Why do you think people in general, both of you, just avoid that message as vehemently as they do?
I think it's a stigma.
You know, you said, because like you said, it's very easy, just like little things. It's very easy to implement things here and there to sort of make it a more common message and that sort of stuff. So why don't people do it?
I think it's going to take a lot of time. Just like when you think about, you know, what Mothers Against Drunk Driving has done, it's taken quite some time for the thought of, you know, advocating driving drunk is just a horrible thought right now. Even when you hear a rapper singing a song about when they're driving drunk, it's just like, oh, you're a horrible person. You know what I mean? I think not for us to think that anybody who engages in unsafe sex is a horrible person, but we just need to somehow feed that thought that, oh, it's automatically not the right thing to do. And it's going to take some time. I think that we just have to get away from the fact that it's not it shouldn't be a subject or a topic that people are scared of or shy away from, just because like it's like how I used that example before of David picturing the beautiful girl in his head and her taking chlamydia pills. You know, usually when you see somebody or you know that somebody's had an STD, you for some reason this automatic thought is that, you know, they've had a lot of sexual partners, they're promiscuous. You know what I mean? But you know, it's very possible that, you know, they've had one boyfriend their whole entire life, and that boyfriend brought home an STD.
But even if they did have multiple partners,
there's nothing wrong about it. But people think, oh, you have multiple partners, you're dirty, you have STD,
she sleeps around,
you're a walking STD. I've heard people use that term before. You know, and that may not even be the case. Like, you could easily get an STD from your partner. You could easily get, people think, oh, a mother has 4 kids, whatever, they're promiscuous. You know what I mean? Hey, she could have been unsafe 4 times. You know, it's not, it has to be a practice. It has to be something that is just expected. Just like it's expected that if you're drinking, you know, you don't get into a car. You know, it should be, if I'm about to have sex with this girl, I should automatically think to put on a condom. She shouldn't have to ask me, or, you know, we shouldn't have to have a little debate about it before, or it shouldn't be, oh, you know, you don't want to have my kid, or it shouldn't be anything about, it should be.
It should be a natural flow. Like,
yeah.
It should be incorporated into foreplay. It should be something that's easily, you know, mentioned, or like, I mean, even
turned into fun, or
exactly. I mean, even if you're seeing somebody, or saying you have, you know, when you're the so-called, you know, fuck buddies.
Yeah. Or friends with benefits.
Friends with benefits. I mean, little things like that. I mean, that's information that should be passed on. Oh, I'm coming over tonight. Oh, make sure you bring condoms.
Yeah.
Or, do you have condoms? No.
Can you pick some on the way?
On the way.
Cool.
Like, conversations like that, I think, should be open enough where, you know, we're all grown and civilized to be able to, you know, have a discussion about, well, you know, I'm coming over, I wanna have sex with you. What's wrong with that?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think there is also like a stigma attached to, like you were saying, for women particularly who have had multiple partners and perhaps have contracted something. I think there's a sense of shame connected with that, and it's like our society has such an aversion to quote-unquote shame and weakness and that sort of thing, and so maybe people are averse to having that conversation, like you said, because they don't want to come across, they don't want to put that you know, weakness about themselves out there. They don't want to share that because they feel it will be seen as less.
Exactly.
Right?
I totally agree. And I'm not a woman, but I can definitely understand how difficult it may be for a woman to, let's say you've contracted an STD off of, a fling or, an ex-boyfriend or whatever it is. You contract an STD and it almost feels like that walk to the clinic is a walk of shame. It's like, oh my gosh, it happens,
Yeah.
and it
Realistically,
shouldn't
you just made a
happen,
mistake.
but it happens, and you think that your friends are gonna look down at you. 7 out of 10 of them probably have had to do that exact walk of shame, and and it doesn't come up, and it's something that it's one of those secrets that is just a generic secret. Everybody just keeps that to themselves. People may share in relationships, you may ask your girlfriend, how many men you've been with, and she might ask you how many girls you've been with, and you have a number. Half of the time it's a false number, but you have a number.
Nobody really wants to know.
Such a pointless conversation.
Nobody really wants
So
to know
a lot of
the
people
number.
want to know, but you don't really want to tell. But yeah, everybody has their number.
And they place so much emphasis on the number.
Exactly. But what if one of those
They're
numbers
missing the
was
point.
how many times have you contracted an STD? You know what I mean?
Mm.
That one is definitely going to be one that people are going to lie about over and over and over again, and it's you have to be truthful, especially about something like that.
Especially with yourself.
It's with yourself, and just so it's people don't want to be looked at as the dirty one or the freak or the hoe.
So maybe we need to
slut.
start changing society's view.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it
definitely double
culturally
standard.
acceptable to be walking around with a condom openly. With our clothing, we like to have that condom pocket. We like to say, hey, there's no shame in letting people know that you protect yourself when you have sex. You have sex, do what you gotta do. But, letting people know that, hey, I protect myself when I do it, there is no shame in doing that. A girl shouldn't have to, put a condom in, the 7th secret pouch in her purse.
And they exist.
Just in case,
Those
it
pockets
falls
exist.
down, it opens, and chain splatters everywhere, and then, oh my god, there's a Trojan on the floor.
Right next
Oh
to
my
the lip
god.
gloss.
Is that a condom in her purse?
Exactly.
It shouldn't be like that. It should be, oh wow, I want to talk to that girl. You know what I mean? Because I know that I'm not going to catch anything from her. That's what she'd be like. She's responsible. She's a smart one.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we look at it as like, oh, she's dirty. No.
Yeah.
I mean, and just not only through STIs. I mean, just the fact of possibly bringing another person
Pregnancy.
into it.
That's a big
when
one.
you're not ready. I mean, that's still a huge,
huge one.
factor. And I mean, if you have sex with somebody and they end up getting pregnant, putting that woman in that position because it's her body. Do I keep it? Do I have an abortion? Those are huge decisions in life, no matter what age you're at, and it's not really fair to put somebody in that situation. And more so, even if you do decide to bring a kid into the world at this point, why are you bringing that kid in? If you're not in a relationship with that individual, maybe you're not getting along.
What are your reasons?
What are
for
your
wanting
reasons?
to bring another life?
Are you looking, just for somebody that's going to love you unconditionally because you know that, or out of spite for this person, or there's so many factors that go into it, and a lot of us at the time don't even really think of it.
We don't.
We're only thinking about getting our rocks off, or getting that satisfaction, and it's a lot more.
That's why it's a very tricky thing, is because with sex, the arousal and all, there's so many. You're not even thinking properly. You're just so excited. The excitement. You're just. You just don't want to kill, especially for guys. You don't want to say something that's just gonna
kill the mood.
Those panties come up real quick. It's like you don't want to kill the mood. The mood is, we're so terrified of killing the mood. And then to just ruin it by just saying something like, oh, 1 second, let me put this on. And let the girl sit there and wait and watch.
Let me slip into something a little more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? We're so scared of doing that. We're so terrified of doing that. So we're at that moment anyway, with our mind all blurry and we're not even thinking properly. We're willing to take that risk, and possibly have to do the walk of shame to the clinic, or possibly getting a call a month later saying, "I'm late. You know,
if you could almost get people thinking down the road before they make those decisions.
Exactly. If it just became so common, just like how I said, you know, with the drunk driving, these days people who are even intoxicated are thinking about not getting in their car. So if we can translate that to the point where you're so horny, but yet it's still clicking in, that's what we're trying to get as a message into the world.